Hey, howdy, how's it going? You probably saw the thumbnail and then, the title and all that stuff, and you're here and you're intrigued. For this video, I was going to be talking about what I want to see for Payday 3 in the future because this game isn't really doing that well. And while we talk about it, I'm going to be playing it. The one thing I'm not going to lie about is that this game is, a little bland right now. And the reason for that is the lack of content. That is the one thing that we can bring up to start. When you compare from game to game, clearly, obviously the game is missing a lot of stuff. My biggest complaint overall is that these heists are very quick. The first ones that you do, the first 8 that are a part of the main game, they're very fast. You don't really do much. They all have the same sort of, idea behind them. You stand in a circle to scan something. You get a red key card. You get a blue key card if you want. You open up doors. You get QR codes. Oh, wow. If you didn't see my other video, I still have yet to get this done. I don't understand why. It's there. It says 160. It's not done yet, though, I guess. The lack of content, honestly, is something that truly it cuts this game in half. And like I brought up before, when you compare game to game, clearly there's going to be a major difference. Even if you compare games like Call of Duty, which, are copy and paste almost every single year sometimes, there's always a DLC. And if you compare DLC to the starting of the game, obviously there's going to be a difference. You usually compare start of the game to start of the game. But for me, at least, one of my things is that clearly when you have an outline or you have an idea or something, why would you go completely off base? Basically, there's a lot of perks in certain things that just don't exist in this new version of the game. I don't think people would have minded not having some of these things, but the fact that there's a chance that we will probably end up being sold these things later in this game's life cycle is going to make this game super fucking boring. The fact that it's basically just going to become something where you're just going to end up having to spend more money on the game. And I don't mind DLCs, but the way that they're doing DLCs now, I think, at least the way that it looks like, these DLCs are eventually going to add up. It's going to be expensive, it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be very fucking obnoxious to have to spend that much money on one DLC that, for example, this DLC that's $20 if you want the whole bundle, gives you one map. One whole map. In my opinion, that's very low. I don't understand the pricing there. I don't get that. I don't really like how there's a lot of things in this game that are missing. And when you compare game to game, clearly, like I said, there's going to be a major difference. Fuck this, I'm restarting. But there's a lot of content that just feels, it just makes the game feel bland. When I first opened up this game for the very first time, I was very intrigued. I really wanted to enjoy it because it's, everyone is experiencing it for the first time. I didn't experience Payday 2 at the same time as everyone else. I was just kind of popping on and playing, made a few videos on it. But the fact that Payday 2, a game that is like 10 years old, has an offline mode, and Payday 3, a new game, does not, really sucks. I'm not gonna lie. It is probably one of the worst things ever because it would have been a band-aid, in my opinion, to the issue that was the fact that the servers were just dead. And the servers dying, it happens. Servers go down. It happens to Fortnite. It happens to popular games. Happens everywhere. One thing as well, I don't know if I'm crazy for thinking it, because obviously a lot of games, when you go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, it changes. Obviously, you go from Left 4 Dead 1 to Left 4 Dead 2. The game is a little bit different. There's a little bit more things, but I feel like in regard to it, they've added more overall. And that is what's important, is that there are more things in comparison to the past game. Obviously, maybe a little bit over time. I didn't exactly play those games, but I played a lot of Left 4 Dead 1. And when I saw that for Left 4 Dead 2, you could play as the zombies, the hunter, whatever, all these other guys. I thought that was fucking amazing. That's a very unique concept. There's a lot that they could do with Payday 3, but the thing is as well, is they're also using outdated engines. For this game, they're using Unreal Engine 4 instead of using Unreal Engine 5. And a lot of people have said, why are you using this version? Why not use the one that actually makes sense, the one that's good? It's a lot of, we don't get it. It's a lot of not understanding. Payday 2 had a system where you could basically use Continental coins. You could buy these with the money that you had in your offshore account or whatever, something like that. I don't fully remember because, to be honest, I didn't really do it a whole lot because I didn't care. Basically, you were able to buy attachments before you leveled up the gun or anything along those lines, however they had it set up. The issue for this game is that is completely just not the case. You don't do that for this game. And to be honest with you, it's a little fucking annoying. Payday 3 has a good concept, you know, because obviously it's Payday 2, you know, all that shit. But like, all you need, to be honest, is just make the game better. That's all that they needed to do. They just need to make Payday 2 just a little bit better, a little bit, you know, higher quality, you know, make it so that it doesn't look like, you know, a PS2 game. And we got a PS3 game, not a PS5 game. Now, clearly, you know, like servers, all that being dead, all that shit, that doesn't have to do with the quality of the actual game itself. They just decided to have this type of art style. You know, if they wanted to kind of brush over it, all they had, like if their servers are just going to be bad regardless, just make it so that, you know, that's all that you had to worry about. You know, just make it so that the quality of the game, make it so that the game looked good, and make it so that the quality, you know, wasn't that fucking bad. I don't mind the quality of the game being really bad or anything like that some of the time, but the problem is for me is that I did spend a good amount of money on the game, and there was immediately issues. I didn't get the things that I actually paid for well over like a month and a half. And one problem as well for Payday is that they just kept delaying fucking updates. Now, to the average person, the person seeing headlines, all this shit, when you see game delayed, whatever, yada, yada, you're like, this game is dead. No person is going to look more into it most of the time. Obviously, if you know, there is, you know, the footage and whatnot or whatever of on stream, basically, I think it was on stream or it was a tweet. It was basically said that, well, the stuff that they kind of had cooking up had to wait a little bit longer because of one specific issue. The entire issue being that, well, if they went through with the update, you would have lost every ounce of progress that you had for the game. Then you have other issues, for example, on normal difficulty right now, this is what I'm playing. Because of the fact that they can die so easily, they're not spawning quick enough. This is the environment. My music is off. There is really nothing happening. The guys probably spawned on the other side of this map over on, you know, the other end. And they're all running through. The one thing for Payday 2 was that there was a lot happening. It always felt like you were involved in the game, and that is what made it so much fun. One thing as well, the throwing knife, obviously, I don't mind that it's really strong, but the fact that a throwing knife is far better than like half the items in the game is fucking crazy. I don't mind the research for this game, you know, I don't mind the way that they have it set up for how you unlock shit. And all that, you know, perk decks, perk line, whatever, all that mumbo jumbo. But yeah, on harder difficulties, there's just way too many people, and the fact that there are more isn't a problem. It's the fact that their damage is scaled. So you get shot at by like 80 fucking guys all at once. That's super obnoxious. That's not fun. You're just dead. Loud difficulty is next to impossible when you're on harder difficulties. Even with a team of people, it's very fucking difficult. And that's something that I know people don't really enjoy. Another thing in my notes that I have here is the whole entire progression system needs an overhaul. Basically, Payday 2 had it right. Every heist that you completed, you got XP based off of what you did. Did you kill this many guys? All right. A certain amount of XP per kill. Did you get every single bag? A certain amount of XP per bag is given to you. You know, they kind of had it right in that game, and that's what made it so much fun to play, and you can play offline. Clearly, one of the reasons why they aren't making an offline mode that some people believe is because of the fact that you can really hack the shit out of this game, and mods, you know, obviously still let you do stuff with the game. But I think the difference this time is that, well, we don't really, it's not a bad thing. I don't think that they're really losing money most of the time. If someone comes out with an unlock tool, there's a reason why that's like, you know, illegal. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. And so, yeah, the whole progression system basically, you know, for this game, makes it so that all of your effort is just kind of pointless. So as an example, you saw here, we'll take a look at it. For completing on normal for this heist, I have gotten 15 XP. You need, in comparison to numbers here, obviously I completed a decent amount of challenges on the side, got 240. So I basically am about to I'll get close to leveling up again. But as you can tell here, you're not really missing out on anything. If I killed no one, if I killed, you know, more people, the number doesn't change. That 15 XP just stays stagnant. Very weird. I don't understand it. A lot of people do agree as well that the progression system needs an overhaul. A lot of people want it to be changed. A lot of people want it to be fixed because it is broken. Halo Infinite, I believe, had an entire thing around it where basically for a while, the way that the system worked was that you kind of just, you know, had to accept the fact that you had to do challenges to level up. They eventually changed it because people did not like having to only do challenges to show their level. And now besides the progression, you know, if we're gonna be honest with it, we need a lot more weapons. And melee weapons, especially. One thing as well is secondaries, I have to be honest. The fact that there's only like 4 or 5 and the rest are like AKs basically, you know, assault rifles. Then we got a new batch of weapons that you would technically, if you wanted to, have to pay like $5 for. These guns aren't that good. I've used every single one of these guns and they all are pretty bad for what I would expect, you know, a gun to do. You know, they're not good. They're just not that, they're not good. I don't know. They're just not good. They look like copy and paste of a lot of the weapons that we already have. So it's just not that fun. I don't think anyone wants to be using them. I don't think anyone has fun using them. But besides melee weapons, you know, ideas for that, I don't really care for that. If you have an idea of what type of stuff that they want or that you would want to be added, you know, you could tell me down below. That's fine. You know, in the comments, it's up to you. One thing that I don't think has actually ever changed yet is the fact that there isn't voice chat. Voice chat. You know, a common thing in games when you're playing online with other people, yeah, voice chat. There isn't voice chat in public lobbies. It's really bad. I don't like that. They need to eventually add that. I don't get why that wasn't added on launch. CrimeNet. This is one of my other things that I have written down. CrimeNet is very important. It's just the way that the online space works. You kind of see who has what difficulty set. You kind of see what everyone's wanting to do. You can pick and choose how you want to play with other people because of the way that, you know, you guys are playing very similarly. You see that based off of the difficulty that they have picked, the map that they have picked, whatever they're trying to do. You see that, you can play with them if you want to. One thing as well is that the safe house isn't here. Obviously, when the safe house was first added in Payday 2, it sucked ass, but you would think they know now all of those quality of life changes that they put in for the game in Payday 2 would be added for Payday 3 now. It seems kind of self-explanatory. A lot of this kind of seems, you know, very crazy to think that a lot of the shit that you would expect to have been added from the second game as an update, you know, it's just a better game. One thing as well is that they need more cosmetics. I know I'm not crazy for thinking this, but obviously the cosmetics that they already have, the problem is that leveling up to get those cosmetics is fucking obnoxious. On the topic of more cosmetics, the way that you kind of got a lot of your cosmetics originally was through the card system. If you don't remember, basically, after every match that you played successfully in Payday 2, you would get a card or whatever the fuck. Basically, it allowed you to kind of just have some free shit every time, and that was cool. Yeah, you would get free shit basically through the cards, and that was interesting because you could get stuff from random, like, other stuff throughout the year, even though it wasn't available to get at that time. And that system's great. It works very well. It makes it feel very, you know, like niche. It's just a luck factor. It's all random. You picked from 1 to 3. And some of the time, I think it would just be the same thing anyways. And, you know, for me, I don't really mind it. Free shit is free shit. Another thing that I have written down in my notes is that basically the heists are very similar. You end up doing the same thing almost every single time. And that, I think, needs to change soon. The one thing that I remember when I'm thinking of different types of heists is that Payday 2 had one heist where you basically would drive a car, and if it got shot enough, it would break down. You'd have to repair it, have to drive again, all that stuff. And the reason why it was so much fun was because it was completely different. It was something very unique and new, at least for the game. You know, may not be new for everyone. I just feel like we need more things that kind of, you know, change up the game. I feel like for most of these heists, especially the ones, the first 8 that you get in the game, it's the same thing. They added a legacy heist, which, you know, clearly that's not an original idea. That's the past thing. I don't mind that it's there, and I like that it's free content. You're not paying for the old shit. But the fact that it's like, you know, it's still old, nothing new, really kind of shows that it, like, nothing's changed. There's not really, you know, something to be like, holy cow about. One thing that I will say is that I'm not trying to hate on the game. That's one thing as well. There's no reason to be like, you know, oh wow, the game is so bad, it's so terrible, no one fucking likes this garbage. It's kind of just like, why wasn't the game really, you know, made what people expected it to be? And it wasn't an over like expectation. It wasn't like people expecting to have millions and millions of heists to do on the start. If they did do something like that, this game would have been like game of the year or some shit somehow. Another thing that I have in my notes is that basically the higher difficulties on loud are next to impossible. I think this is a complaint not as a skill issue, but as the fact that everything does a ton of fucking damage, and the spawns are just slightly a little bit more increased. One thing with the new techie enemy is that she basically has like 3 drones shooting you, 2 drones, something like that. And the problem here is that these drones do a significantly large amount of damage. They destroy you, and it's insane. One thing as well is that we don't have enough armor. We don't have enough armor, health, you know, stuff like that. We don't have enough of the ability to regen our armor, regen our health over time or anything like that to basically be able to survive in the game. I don't care exactly if it's too easy, you know, to an extent. The game can be pretty simple sometimes, and that's fine. Like right now, I'm literally just running around. There's barely anything fighting me. It's pretty self-explanatory that, you know, it's just simple. I have a lot of cover because I'm in a building, whatever. But when you go from this to normal difficulty on the newest heist, they increased the amount of guys that there are, but they did not fix any of the amount of damage that they can do. They kind of have created this economy in the game where like health and all that shit is way more important. And when you get rid of abilities like dodge and stuff like that, you're just kind of fucked. Whoops, I killed a civilian. But one thing to note is that people, besides all this, you know, negative Nancy stuff of health and all these things and whatever being bad, the game was fun. For the beta or whatever, people trying it out for the first time, people liked it. Besides the people, you know, who clearly were getting paid to say anything like that, people enjoyed playing the game. The things that changed was that nothing was built upon that. Nothing was built upon that new thing. And that's a part of the problem, is that there's really nothing new. I don't know. For me, it's just kind of like whatever, I guess. It's kind of difficult to, you know, kind of come up with something for myself. It's just because this game is just something that kind of shows like when a game isn't really doing well, people aren't, no one's putting effort, and they could be putting a lot of hours, but nothing's showing for it. And that's the problem. Something that I can show you guys currently right now is that you actually can't even get in the back of the getaway, you know, van, something that you used to be able to do all the time. It would stop you from dying, kept you in cover, and they don't really have that anymore. That sucks. But yeah, so that's basically just, you know, my take on it all. Oh, this time I got 35. I don't know how that makes any sense. But yeah, so hopefully you guys, you know, enjoyed this video, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really have like a grand scheme, but it's just like, I really want this game to, you know, do better so that people actually, you know, like it. People make videos on it. It gets a little bit more popular again. But in the meantime, I'll just be here, probably uploading other videos and other stuff. So I'll see you guys around. Peace.